I started teaching, I've been teaching about 10 years. I teach reading language arts, and if you had ever asked me if I was going to be a teacher, I would have said no. Would never have thought that I would have liked teaching as much as I did. But once I got into it, I found a passion. I love middle school age kids, and it's been that way ever since. I began teaching Storm and Kevin in 5th grade.
My first impressions on Ms. Westbrook were that she was a good teacher. She was very passionate about her job and was here for the betterment of the kids.
Storm, when I first came, was a student that was in the lower tier, and Storm is an athlete. He's very, very competitive, and I noticed that right off the bat with him. One of his best little buddies was in our top tier, and so I used that, and I went to my principal and said, hey, I got an idea. I'd like to switch up some of the groupings with the kids. Put Storm in the top tier group. He didn't want to be left behind, and he started sitting up, paying attention, and when I would grade those papers and give them back and his grades were not quite as good as his friends, he would get upset, and then he really started putting in some work. When I told him, I was like, you need to read at home, you need to review these notes, you need to do that. He did it.
She'll have conversations with me, tell me I need to pay attention more and I need to grow up and stuff like that. My maturity level grew a lot. She's been a mother figure for me.
He was basic or below basic pretty much on all the TCAP scores, but from 5th grade to 7th grade, he's been proficient or advanced in just about everything. And I think it was just unlocking that key and giving him the confidence that you can do this and finding what works for him.
She made the lessons very fun for me to make me pay attention in class, and she went above and beyond to teach me everything I need to know.
One of the strategies that I use that I think worked really well with my students is relating it to real world. I'd sing a song off the radio and they'd be like, Miss Westbrook, you know that song? How do you know that song? Or I'd rap something and I'd rap it, but it would be a rule for one of our grammar things. It's easier for them to learn when they can relate it to something. And when you can pull in something real world that they like, it makes it fun for them. It makes it fun for me because then they want to learn. Kevin has always been bright.
Ms. Westbrook, she's a great teacher. I had her since I was in 5th grade. She makes it easier to read and write it. She makes it super easier to understand it than other teachers can.
I think my biggest breakthrough with Kevin would be his social skills. Kevin was very, very quiet, never a problem child at all. He did his work, but he didn't interact as much with his peers. And I think that's the part that people kind of forget about. We think about all of the academics, but we're also teaching these kids how to be productive citizens. I mean, you want them to learn social skills. You want them to learn how to communicate. Kevin now, last year, actually I would have to fuss and be like, Kevin, stop talking, you know, and I thought that was a big thing with him. I just think being more realistic about what teachers face in the classroom is one of the things, and I think that's one of the things why our school has been so successful. Our principal was a teacher and really and truly knows, and he is around in this building. He sits and he eats lunch with them, and he would talk and say, hey, you know, how's class going? What happened, you know? And I mean, it was genuine conversations, and that says a lot about him. I don't want to see us move towards cookie-cuttering teaching. Everybody has their teaching style. When I come in my room, it's actually Veronica who's putting it together to teach the kids. So I don't want to see us moving to where we're having to teach to these tests. We want to teach our kids and make sure that they're learning and learning it in the best way possible for them.
Once we actually, in 5th grade, we did this poem project called a haiku, where she taught, it's a Japanese poem that she taught us how to do it, and we had to write it on Black History Month, and that just shows that she cares about us knowing not just poems, but also things that have happened in the past.
Back in the days, you know, you had adults would say children are to be seen and not heard, and that's not true. They have feelings, you know, they have bad days, good days, and just looking at them as people and having a common respect for them. There's a way to talk to them when you want them to talk back to you. I mean, if you give that respect and have that genuine empathy for them, then I think you get it back.